Hello again, everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of Journey Through Sports, Entertainment, and Life. Delighted to have you on board. I'm Scott, and I've got the M&M twins here. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hey, Scott.
Yeah, great to be
Marjorie
here.
and Marnie. And what's new in this world? Anything? We're going to be talking about music and the military and all kinds of great things
Well,
today.
that's what I'm focused on. I am really
The music
looking
or the
forward-
military?
Both. I'm looking forward to our guest.
How about you, Marnie?
Same. I feel like I'm kind of in a little bit of a time capsule here, so I'm very excited for our guests that will be joining us.
Well, I tell you what, when you talk about incredible individuals, you talk about somebody that was an iconic individual in
definitely.
his own, his own world, and how we all were introduced to him as something called Tony Orlando and Dawn. How old
I
were you when that
remember
happened? How
well.
are you? Yeah,
Yes.
and talk about a legacy that has gone on. But then he's also gone on to do so many things for so many people, in particular the military. And I got a chance to meet him a few years ago as a result of that. But you talk about great individuals, and you talk about Hall of Fame football players or baseball players, World Series champions. But then as an individual, sometimes they're not the nicest people in the world. Mm-hmm. And as we all both know, or all three of us know, and then the same thing of entertainers. And, you just, what an incredible entertainer. Then you meet them as an individual. This guy's iconic both as an individual and as one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. So that said and done, let us just simply say hello to the man himself, T.O., Tony Orlando. How are you?
I'm fine. I was thinking we have some football greats there sitting with you, including yourself. And I'm thinking, what have I done in my career that links me to football? And I realized that I was at Super Bowl III with Joe Namath, right?
Yeah.
Super Bowl III,
Yeah.
right?
1969.
I remember there's a photograph somewhere of him coming up, and I'm standing in an orange shirt going like this to him because he was a friend of mine, and I'll never forget that moment. And then when he came on my variety show on CBS, I said, do me a favor, Joe. Just throw me a pass. I want to be able to say to people, I caught a pass from the great Joe Namath.
And did he?
Did he do it?
Yeah, he did it. Yeah.
And did you catch it?
Of course.
Yeah. That's great. So then
that's
tell
good.
us, you caught a pass from the great Joe Namath.
Being in this business and having the career that God's blessed me with is I also was able to catch a ball from Willie Mays.
Oh, wow.
I was also able to pick up a bat and swing against Tom Seaver.
Oh, my gosh.
So I've been able, because of this wonderful blessing in show business of mine, to be able to be with many of my sports heroes.
Oh, that's very cool. I had no idea. I didn't realize it. That's pretty good stuff, huh?
Oh, no, I think that's great.
Oh, my gosh. Talk about Hall of Famers and, just iconic individuals
Just
in
right
the sports
there.
world right there.
And
for
they were
sure.
able to say that they threw a ball to Tony Orlando.
That's right.
I think that's really that's probably a better moment for them than the opposite.
Are you sure you're not running for politics?
Well, maybe, but not right this second.
Now, Tony, what do you think I'm
Thank you for that.
Yeah, what do you think I'm sitting with these two wonderful ladies with? Yeah, I mean, well, I tell you what, where do we want to start, ladies? You all know Tony. I think back to, things like Candida and tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree and just
knock three times.
Knock three times.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite of all those songs, Tony? I mean, they're all iconic.
Probably Candida, only because Candida was the first one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I knocked three times. I never thought would be a hit.
Oh.
I remember saying to the producers and the writers, Erwin Levine and Larry Brown, who wrote all the Tony Orlando and Dawn songs, by the way, I said, are you kidding? There's no pipes to knock on in the Midwest. This will only be a hit in Brooklyn. It's not going further than Brooklyn. That's it. Well, it turned out that it sold 4 million singles.
Oh, I'm not
in fact,
surprised.
Knock Three Times was a bigger selling single than Yellow Ribbon was when it was released.
Really?
Huh.
Oh, I had no idea. Now, wasn't Tie a Yellow Ribbon, that was 1973. Wasn't that the number one song for the year on Billboard? I think that was the number one song of the entire year of all.
In fact, we were lucky to have 5 number one songs. So as Candida went number one.
Okay.
Knock Three Times went to number one. Yellow Ribbon went to number one. Sweet Gypsy Rose went to number one. And He Don't Love You Like I Love You went to number one.
Oh,
We were fortunate to have 5 number one million-selling singles in a time when million-selling singles really sold a million records.
Mm-hmm.
And I cherish the 70s because some of the great songwriting and some of the great artists of all time came out of that era.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I started and had my first hit in 1961, I don't even know Scott knows this, with Carole King. It was her first hit and my first hit. I was 16 years old. She was 18 years old.
No kidding.
Wow.
What was that? What was it, Tony?
It was called Halfway to Paradise. And believe it or not, it broke and got its start in Dallas.
No kidding.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
That's a little history here.
So yes, really
Well,
fascinating.
that's really something.
Okay, so then that leads me to my question. You hear a lot of people then when they make it big, they say they're an overnight success. What was your journey though to number one hits and having your variety show and all? How, if you had a hit in 1961, what was your life like as you were building to this career?
Well, I went to see a movie when I was 9 years old called Singing in the Rain with Gene
Oh
Kelly.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you remember that movie, and those of you out there too young to remember it, he's out in the rain, he's got an umbrella, and he's, I'm singing in the rain, and he's so happy. And he goes over to a lamppost and he swings around the lamppost, and he has this wonderful, part in the movie. And I remember walking out of that movie theater saying to myself, I was 9 years old,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And in fact, crazy as it sounds, I came out of the movie theater, RKO movie theater on 23rd Street in Manhattan and 8th Avenue. And I walk out and it's raining. It's raining.
So what song did you start singing?
Singing The Puddle, like he did, The Puddles, and I'm singing in the rain. So years later, I get a chance to meet Gene Kelly.
Oh.
And it was at a Friars venue and where they were paying tribute to him. And I told him that story. And I said, I was the only kid in the neighborhood with one wet left foot. And he really embraced me because he realized what I was saying was that was when the dream started.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from 9 years old to 16 isn't a long way. So at 15, I already was going to the top of the Brill building, knocking on doors. I have a song for you, next floor. I have a song for you, next floor. Turn down, turn down, turn down. Until I met a guy named Don Kirshner, who took me on as a 16-year-old kid, brought me into the studio with Carole King and her husband, Jerry Goppin, and here I am with you.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Boy,
That was determination. Knock on door, go to another floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where'd you get that kind of determination and perseverance from?
I really don't know. I think it's New York City. I think there's a sense of growing up in a city like that where you have to have that in your heart and soul. You have to love I loved show business. I wanted so badly to meet Jerry Lewis. I ended up not only meeting him, but along with your buddy there, we co-hosted the telethon with Jerry Lewis, both Scott and I. I did it out of New York. He did it out of Dallas. So, the fight for it to make it is part of living in a city like Dallas or living in a city like New York. You have to have that perseverance, I think.
Well, before the others ask a question, let me throw one more. Okay, so you're 9 years old. You see Singing in the Rain. This starts the dream. But how did you discover that you actually had the talent? Did you already know you could sing? Did you know? I mean, how did you? There are a lot of things that have to come together in order to follow that and make it happen.
I still question my talent.
Well, nobody else does.
And the truth is, I really do. The truth is, I never got past the point of wanting to get better. So when I met Carole King, she was a kid. And she wrote this song for me, Halfway to Paradise. And if you ever saw the show Beautiful, which is her life story, It's all about four songwriters. Carole, her husband, Jerry, a guy named Barry Mann, who had a record called Who Put the Bump in the Bump, Bump, Bump. His wife, Cynthia Wilde. They wrote Somewhere Out There, On Broadway, You've Lost That Love and Feeling. Carole and Jerry wrote similar hits. I mean, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? It goes on and on and on. They may be the most prolific songwriters other than Lennon and McCartney.
Uh-huh.
And so I got blessed to be able to be surrounded by this incredibly talented people who were Juilliard graduates who also were in their teens. And we're led by a guy who was only 26 years old and named Don Kirshner. And he was the one that inspired us, reminded us to be better, and taught us the way to go. So we were very lucky to have each other to believe in and to support each other as kids, really, and have this 26-year-old genius named Don Kirshner. Maybe, I don't remember the Don Kirshner rock concerts, but he had a big television show back then. But he discovered just about everybody. When we signed with him, he had Neil Sedaka, he had Carole King, he had Bobby Darin on this contract, he had Connie Francis on the contract, and he had two guys named Tom and Jerry who didn't make it until they changed their name to Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's rather an iconic list, or what?
Yes. It's giving me goosebumps. That's really quite a list. Yes. What an experience for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I've been very blessed. You know, it's like you ask a kid how he gets into football. You know, it's just, that's your dream. That's what you want. You go for it. You go for the touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Marnie, jump in here.
Well, so, I mean, Tony, I remember being probably 3 years old, I think, and with my cousin singing Knock 3 Times, having no idea what it actually meant. But so now that you have 5 number 1 hits, so you're famous. Like, what is it like to suddenly wake up one day and be like, wait a minute, this dream actually that you had thought of when you were 9 years old, it's really happening? And how, like, what was the fun thing about that fame and all the good stuff? How did you handle that?
Honestly, I know you're not going to believe this, but I never gave fame much thought. Mm-hmm. And I still don't. Fame to me is a mirage. Fame isn't really fame at all. It only appears that way from a distance. I mean, if you look at a marquee, that's fame. Take the main down off the marquee, it's over. So I never really looked at this as a fame thing. I looked at it more as a giving thing. My whole reason for being in this business was the same reason I got from that guy singing in the rain. He gave me a great feeling. I took it as a gift. When I walk on stage, I honestly mean this. I know you're not going to believe it, but I don't think of it as famous. I think of it as a chance to give to people, make them smile, make them happy, bring them joy. That, to me, is the motivation for me. Never has been fame. Never has been.
That's amazing, because I don't think most people think like that. They want the fame, they want the whatever, all the stuff, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so, all right, so growing up then, who had, your parents, your mom, your dad, family, how did they did they influence you to not feel like the fame was the fame, but really more about giving back?
Well, my sister was the one reason. My sister was severely brain damaged. She had an IQ of a 9-month-old baby until she died at 21 years old. She taught me everything that's important. For instance, she taught me the importance of being able to scratch my own itch. Wow. When you have someone for 21 years and you search for an itch, and you know that itch is going to, while it's being scratched, is going to prevent a seizure, it humbles you completely. And when you take your guitar and you sing for this child, and the only thing that made her happy was music, you realize the power of music. Until the day she died, all she cared about was a song called Runaway by Del Shannon.
Oh,
and that's what I used to sing for her over and over again. So really and truly, my sister was the provider for the humble heart that I've been giving. My family still, my mom passed away, of course, but my mom can't believe that my son became a star. My son is working at, she's enjoyed that. My mother enjoyed that. My father enjoyed that. But I never viewed it, honestly, as a fame thing. I remember one day, a guy walked up to me when I first started out on that first hit record. I was 16 years old. He came up to me and he said, I have 4-stage cancer. And he said, I just want you to know that that's the best show I ever saw. But when he walked away, I said to myself, you can't ever shuck a show again in your lifetime. Because odds will tell you, the odds are that if there's a theater filled with people there's going to be one of those guys that's suffering from that. There's going to be one out there who's had a heartache with maybe a divorce, or somebody's going through a tough time. So that person taught me from that day on to give everything I got, even if it's that one unknown person that might not even make it home that night. So there's a very serious outlook for me to give to the audience, also because of my sister.
Wow. Have you ever recorded Runaway, or are you going to?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
great.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, and was that as a tribute to her? That's why you did
And
it?
by the way, I did it as a medley. I did Happy Together and Runaway. That's the statement.
Oh, okay. Okay. What? Happy Together, the animals?
The Turtles.
Turtles.
Remember the Turtles?
I knew it was
Happy
an animal.
Together.
Yeah, I remember, but I got the wrong group, but it was the
Dun, dun,
Turtles.
dun,
That's
yeah,
right.
That's it. That's
yes.
it.
Mhm,
Yeah, the
good
Turtles.
song.
Yeah, there were so many iconic groups that came out in the 60s and the 70s.
Oh, my gosh,
Of course, the Beatles in 64, but after that, I think the Turtles came out in, 67? Something like that. I think the Turtles came out. I think Happy Together was 1967. Then, of course, you had Chicago came out in 67, 68.
Yeah.
68, and, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then,
In 67, truthfully, my singing career was over. I was already the youngest oldie but goodie that ever lived. I mean, don't forget, my first hit was in 61, right?
Right.
So now it's 67. Why was I out of work? Because the Beatles came in, because of the Rolling Stones, because of the British invasion.
Right.
We American artists were not getting any recordings. So I ended up going behind the desk, working my way up to vice presidency of CBS's Columbia Records music companies, along with Clive Davis, who put me in that position.
Wow.
No kidding. Now, that's a story I never heard, Tony. I didn't realize you did that at CBS. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And Clive Davis, like yourself, another icon in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a good run there. I had a good run. I signed a kid named Barry Manilow.
Oh, you did?
I love Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
And I produced his first records for Bell Records, which became Arista Records.
Mm-hmm.
And then I represented James Taylor.
Oh,
in his
wow.
music. The Yardbirds. Do you remember the Yardbirds?
Oh,
yeah,
sure do.
definitely.
Yeah. And the Blood, Sweat, and Tears. You remember Blood, Sweat, and Tears? Yeah. And that was my job. I ran the music division for Clive for 4 years. He gave me a great opportunity. Remember, I never saw high school. So in order for me to become a vice president of CBS was quite an accomplishment.
Wow, yeah.
My family bragged about that more than a hit record. Rightly so. And I've had a great journey, as you put it in the very beginning of this podcast.
And then, of course, you went on and you talked before about the telethon, and both of us doing that, the Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon. But you met Jerry Lewis, and I mean, you were iconic in that thing, for the Muscular Dystrophy Association for decades. I mean, that was above and beyond too. So you weren't just in the front office for CBS or whatever it might have been. You were out there making a difference in the world, and that's what I think most impresses me about you. And at your age, even today, you're still doing that, and with our military. And we'll get to that a little later on in the program. But it's unbelievable.
It's crazy that situation with Jerry. Remember, I told you I was 9 years old when I saw Singing in the Rain.
Right.
Well, I was 10 years old when I met Jerry Lewis.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
And Jerry Lewis was already doing a telethon locally in New York. So I went out because of my sister, who had cerebral palsy. She didn't have muscular dystrophy, but Jerry was the only telethon on in those days. Mm-hmm. And I was so moved that I went out and I got a big jar and I put $39 in this jar full of coins. And I walk up to this incredible superstar named Jerry Lewis. I go, Mr. Lewis, this is my $39 I got for your kids. And little did I know that many years later, 1983, that same Jerry Lewis would come to my show in Vegas and walk up to my dressing room and say, Tony, will you host New York Telethon for me, the very city that I was brought up in?
Wow.
And I told him the story. I said, Jerry, I gave you $39 when I was 10 years old. And he went, you gotta be kidding. What? How much? Only 39? So we became friends. And here, listen to this. That man who was my hero, who I met when I was 10, I hosted his funeral.
Oh, you did?
I didn't know that, Tony.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my
His
gosh.
celebration of life funeral, I sure did at the South Point Hotel.
Wow.
And it was by the request of his wife and family.
So, okay, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it sure is.
You're 10 years old, you meet him, and what a journey that.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I know. That is crazy.
Yeah, that really is.
But speaking of
And my
bringing.
daughter was in Jerry's daughter's wedding recently.
Oh, really?
So Orlando and Orlando still got together.
Yeah, there you go.
My
so,
God,
okay,
decades
so
later.
speaking of Orlando and Lewis getting together, did you have anything to do with Gary Lewis and the Playboys?
No, Jerry Lewis and the Playboys did it on his own.
Or
But I will tell you
Gary
something
Lewis,
about-
his son.
I will tell you about the son.
Uh-huh.
The young son recorded a song called "This Diamond Ring."
Yeah, I remember.
Right.
Diamond, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So "This Diamond Ring" was written by the same people who wrote "Yellow Ribbon."
Oh,
Really?
it was. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I know. This is really
Oh,
interesting.
that's incredible.
Uh-huh. Can you stay on the show for about 3 more hours?
That's good stuff. Marnie?
Just so much history. All right. So when you were doing the Tony Orlando and Dawn show, how did you come up with all the different, it was a variety show and the skits, and who was doing all the writing, and that must have taken so much time and energy to produce each week. So tell me about that, because I remember watching that show and I loved it.
Oh, thank you. You were just a little girl. All of you were little kids then. So that's 1973.
Yeah.
We went on a summer show in 73. There were 3 shows that were vying for a mainstay. Okay, so that was the Hudson Brothers, Bobby Gentry, and myself, the girls. So the Tony Orlando and Dawn show, Bobby Gentry show, I think Bobby's was in June, we were July, Hudson Brothers was August. Whoever got the highest ratings got to come back with a full show on the air, CBS prime time in September. So we won the ratings, right? So we came on gangbusters. We had 36 million people watching that show every single Wednesday night for 4 years. Imagine that.
That's incredible.
Imagine that number. 36. You can't get 36. Maybe the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe the Super Bowl, maybe.
But remember, there was only 3 networks then. There was no internet. There was no cable. It was just CBS, ABC, and NBC. We were CBS. Variety shows had ended. Other than Carol Burnett, Sonny and Cher were off the air. Everything was over. And the president of CBS, Fred Silverman, said, it's not over. Even though the press was saying variety shows are dead, he said, no, it's not dead. And he tested it by that summer because that many people watched. When we went on the air, we were the first multiracial group to ever do a primetime television show. 2 black girls from Detroit, 2 beautiful black women, and myself, half Puerto Rican and Greek. There we were on primetime television only 2 years after the assassination of Martin Luther King. So you can imagine it was a different mindset. Here they come on the air. What does this mean? What's going to happen with these 3? In a kind of a humble way, we were put in a position, a Jackie Robinson position. We were the first to ever hold that. And so it was a tough time for the country, but I really believe that we were put in a position that eased a lot of that stress. We didn't know it at the time, but we did. And we're very proud of that. And we did it with music and comedy, which of course, that's what variety shows are all about.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite guest? Somebody that really just knocked your socks off when they came on the show?
Favorite guest?
Yes.
Phyllis Diller.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm.
And
I loved Phyllis Diller.
Go to YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Phyllis, go to YouTube and say Tony Orlando and Phyllis Diller's hairpiece or something like that. Because she comes on the show, and by the way, we're live to tape. We everything you saw on our show, we never did like stop and move, stop and move. What you saw was live to tape.
Uh-huh.
And that's the way we wanted it. So she comes out to take a bow, and as the first guest, I said, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the great Phyllis Diller. And she comes out, and I figure I'm going to walk over and bend her over and give her a kiss, So I walk over and I grab Phyllis and I pull her down like this. And when she comes back up, her wig was stuck on my cover. You have to look at her because she goes, ha, ha, ha.
That iconic laugh. Yes.
With that famous laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
She goes like that. And then I whispered to her, I promise we'll cut it out. And she goes, no, you won't cut it out. We'll never get a big laugh like that again. And to her credit, we kept it in.
Oh, that's hilarious.
My gosh.
Right. She had her vanity. She understood comedy. I mean, it didn't overtake her own vanity. So
that's hilarious. That's a great story.
Then I got a chance to work with some of the greats. I mean, Jerry was on, of course, but don't forget you had Milton Berle. You girls wouldn't remember him, but he was a giant in his day.
Oh, yeah.
Sid Caesar, a giant in his day. Joey Bishop, one of the Rat Pack, of course. And, they came on as my guests. And there I was working with 3 giant comedians in a show that was all about comedy. And it was scary to be up there with them because they were considered the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
They sure were. They were iconic. You talk about Dawn, and you make such a great point with how it was back then, a couple of years after Martin Luther King and what have you, and the 2 girls who were African American. Are they still living today, Tony? Dawn? Well,
living, I'll tell you what, I often wonder, should I borrow money from Thelma Hopkins? Because she's the longest running actress in the history of television.
No kidding.
To this day. So she's gone from our show in 73. We went off the air in 78. She went to Bosom Buddies up to Roots. Then she went to Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks for 3 years. Then she went to Give Me a Break with Nell Carter for 4 years. Then she was 15 years with Family Matters as Aunt Rachel. Then she was there for half and half for 6 years. Then 5 years, Are We There Yet? Now they're on Dead to Me on Netflix. Yeah. And she's still on the air to this day. So Thelma Hopkins is the longest, other than Betty White, who's now gone, is the longest running sitcom actress of all time.
Wow.
Not only that, but this will drive you crazy. She's the same girl that said, "Shut your mouth" to Isaac Hayes on Shaft. and she did the backgrounds to Heard It Through the Grapevine with Marvin Gaye.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, so she is an awesome talent. Joyce is the same thing. Joyce made her, after we broke up, and she went on to do more commercials than you can count, and also decided to keep the music of Motown alive and goes on the road as a Supreme.
Oh.
No kidding.
Oh.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite the trifecta, huh? Tony and the 2 Dons?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And look what they've done in the music world. Oh, that's incredible, Tony. That's incredible. Well, I tell you what, you talk about all you did with Jerry Lewis and the Muscular Dystrophy Telethon, and we got a chance to meet as a result of that, and back in the day, as they say, because I was doing it here in Dallas, and yet I think of all that you have done since 1973, and I do want to talk about what we did a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, but what you've done for the military. Bob Hope came along to you. I'm thinking back, and please correct me if I get this wrong, but you came to Dallas, went to Fair Park, the site of the Cotton Bowl, 80,000 people there. It was the end of America's involvement in the Vietnam War, and Bob Hope got a hold of you and said, "Tony, please join me. I'd like to have you be on board with all that he was doing." Again, you talk about great comedians and great iconic individuals. Bob Hope, certainly one of the greatest of all time. And all of a sudden, it's Tony and Bob Hope. That's pretty good company.
Well, it was overwhelming, really, because, like you said, Bob Hope was maybe in his time one of the biggest stars of all time. Because not only was he a big star in Hollywood, but there wasn't a president that didn't want to play golf with him. It would make their numbers go up if they were out there on the golf course with Bob Hope. And the reason for that is because Bob led the way. Talk about veterans. He led the way for shows for veterans. He would go to the front lines in World War II and in Vietnam and in Korea and do shows in the front lines for our veterans, for our soldiers as well. So he was an amazing American figure that led the way for America to honor our veterans. So here I am with Yellow Ribbon 1973. The record had just come out, maybe a month. So it wasn't a big hit yet. And my phone rings and I hear a voice and it says, Tony Orlando, hi, this is Bob Yellow Ribbon Hope. I said, really? I said, well, this is Frank. I don't believe you're Sinatra. and he goes, no, really, this is Bob Hope, Tony, honest. And I recognized the voice right away. I said, wow, Mr. Hope, why are you calling me? He said, I want you to open the show. We're welcoming home our POWs from Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. There'll be 75,000 people there, 80,000 people. I want you to come to open the show because that opening line of your new song says this, I'm coming home, I've done my time. Mm-hmm. And that's what those guys are experiencing right now. Would you do it? I said, my God, of course I would. Well, I get there and I come on stage and I didn't realize that Bob Hope's power was so big because it was number one in Dallas. He made sure it was number one in Dallas in 2 weeks. It was only number 45 everywhere else in the country, but it was number one in Dallas because of Bob Hope. And I walk out on that stage and I hear for the first time people singing the chorus, tie a yellow ribbon round. And I'm going, oh my God. And I look out to the 50-yard line and I see 500 of the bravest men I'd ever want to meet in my lifetime. And that's the POWs. And their eyes hadn't even adjusted to daylight yet. They were only home 2 weeks. And I'm looking out at them. But there's one POW who's not singing along with the rest of them. His eyes are looking down at the floor. And I'm thinking, oh my God, did I say something to upset this POW? So when I finished the song, I go over to Bob Hope and I said, Mr. Hope, thank you for having me. But did you see that one guy of the POWs? He was like looking down. Promised me I didn't say something to make him mad. He goes, why don't you ask him? After the show, go ask him. So I walk up to that individual, that POW, and I said, sir, my name is Tony Orlando, and I noticed you were looking down at your shoes. All the other guys were clapping their hands and singing along, and you weren't. He goes, oh, Tony, I'm so sorry. Let me introduce myself to you. My name is John McCain.
Oh,
you're kidding.
Wow.
He said they pulled my shoulders out of socket and they broke my wrist. I can't clap my hands. But what you didn't realize was I was looking down at my big toe, keeping time inside my shoe to your song.
Oh,
unbelievable.
Wow.
And from that day on, we became friends till the day he died. And I said to the God, if you bless me with any kind of success, I promise I will make sure that success raises money for veterans from there on. And it did.
And you have done that for over half a century now, dating all the way back to 1973. That's an incredible legacy in itself, Tony. All you do for the military.
You too. You do the same thing. You do it too.
Well, not like you're doing. I mean, I'd love to have you talk about what we did a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas. And again, that's because of your efforts through the group that we have here in Dallas, Tribute to Valor, that you're on the board, I'm on the board. But I tell you, I get a chance to MC those events and say a little something, but you're the guy that everybody goes, oh my gosh, Tony Orlando, and look what he's continued to do.
This man, you talk about humble, the man that you're sitting with there. When we do these events, he leads the parade. The parade doesn't get anywhere without him. He sets the tone. He sets the feeling. If we miss a note, he picks it up. If we miss an idea, he'll find it. You talk about someone who gives back. That guy that there at that table is that guy, and he does it for one reason. He just loves people and loves this country and loves his military. There's not one quite like that man. That Scott right there is one of a kind. There'll never be another one like him. And I have the privilege of going into Vegas and asking people to give us their time because we are part of something called Tribute to Valor, which is something that we love and adore. We're able to bring the 6 core values that the Medal of Honor recipients live by to schools all over America. And we did it in Vegas because I personally want to see Las Vegas, who's known as Sin City, be the first state to take those 6 core values and say, that's part of our curriculum. That's in our schools. integrity, sacrifice, commitment, patriotism. That's what we're going to teach our kids. And you know what? They're going to do it, and they're respecting it. And Scott knows I'm telling the truth. And the same thing happened with it in Chicago last week. You know, Mayor Balderman, Tim Balderman, was incredible. He took us in, and just a little town outside of Chicago. And we saw 2 high schools, and those high schools were just raving about Tribute to Valor. Then he will tell you also that Tribute to Valor, this board that we're privileged to be on, has taken over 100,000 kids, taught them those values that are lived by our heroes. And then we've been able, thanks to the Air Force, to fly many of them down to NASA, where they have been able to experience, you know, robotics, air travel, space travel, and get inspired for their next point in their life and career. And I think Scott will tell you, if he showed you some of the videos that he got from those kids, Scott got, you'll hear kids say, "Oh my God, I know what I'm going to do now.
Wow.
I know I'm going to be in space travel." Tears coming out of their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If there's anything that he and I know him, or we're proud of, is what we're doing right now with Tribute to Valor.
And tears coming out of my eyes, too, here. I'm going like this here after the nice comments you just made. Go look in the mirror, my friend. I'm just following in your footsteps because you're light years ahead of me. You really are. And all you continue to do, it's above and beyond. And you're right. What takes place with those kiddos and going down to Houston and to the Space Center. And the U.S. Air Force gave us those 2 C-130s to fly the kids in. It was unbelievable. But what Tony does on behalf of Tribute to Valor and just sets the tone. And everybody just, oh, my gosh. It's Tony Orlando. It's Tony, and it's just unbelievable. And everybody, people that have been, just ruined for life. You know
what's funny about it, Scott? Tell them the truth. High school kids have no idea who Tony Orlando is, right? Yeah, but I made a movie with Adam Sandler called "That's My Boy." In that movie, there's a scene in which we do "What up?" together, right? Well, those kids all know "What up?" Yeah. So right away, when Scott says, Tony was in this movie with Adam Sandler, they go, "Oh, we know him."
Oh, that's great.
The whole auditorium with all the kids, whatever school we were at, Tony's right there. What's up? What's up? Oh, it's hilarious. Oh, the kids are just, that's perfect. That's what I mean. But that we couldn't do any of that without Tony there. Yeah. He just sets the tone for the whole thing. So it's just, and to think that he's doing it all these years. I mean, 1973, that's 52 years ago when Bob Hope said, "Hey, meet me at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas," and the rest is history. I mean, it's just, it's incredible all that you continue to do. What does that do for you, Tony? You're the ultimate go-giver, but I just wondered above that, you go home at night, you have to have a smile on your face and just love in your heart that you continue to make such a difference for our military like that. For decades. What is it that, as you think back, how special it is to you personally?
I'll tell you what goes through my mind. So I come to Branson, Missouri in 1993. That's 20 years after the Cotton Bowl. Mm-hmm. I come to Branson, Missouri that has 120 theaters. When I get here, Kenny Rogers had a theater, Glenn Campbell had a theater, I had a theater, Willie Nelson had a theater. We all had our own theaters. It was amazing, right? And I come to this little town with all these people in these theaters, serving up 9 million people a year. And I said to myself, wow, this soil here is fertile for God, country, family. It really is what America should be. Mm-hmm. Now, prior to that, there was no talk about veterans. If you don't believe me, go back and look. There was no ads on television, help our vets. There was nothing. And so I decided, man, with my theater, the Tony Orlando Yellow Ribbon Theater, I'm going to call Bob Hope. And I'm going to ask Bob Hope to come to my town of Branson, Missouri. So I called Bob Hope. I said, Mr. Hope, would you come to Branson, Missouri and come on stage with me on Veterans Day? He goes, Tony, you're talking to Bob Hope. Everybody wants me on Veterans Day. And where the heck, and then he goes on, where the hell is Branson, Missouri? So I tell him, I say, if you look at America, and if America had a heart, that's where Branson, Missouri is, right down that bottom of Missouri, right next to Arkansas and Oklahoma. Would you come? And he did.
Oh, he
And by
No
him
kidding.
coming, I did 3 veteran shows from that day on. Well, when he came, we had 500 veterans come, most of them POWs. When he left the following year, I had a waiting list of veterans, 5,000 veterans,
Wow.
to come into a 1,200-seat theater.
Hmm.
That then grew to now 175,000 veterans every Veterans Week from November 5th to November 11th. What we did back then for veterans, we had a show in which we would do a Patriot, like the one you see on Fox, but we did it back then live on the stage. And I had a guy named Mike Huckabee come in and co-host it with me way back in 1993 and 94 when he was, on Fox. So he was on Fox, and he was a big supporter of veterans. So would you come on with me? And he did. And ever since then, since 1993, if you look at where veteran shows were prior to that, now remember, that's 2 years after Desert Storm. So there was no war in 1993. There was no reason other than let's help our veterans. Let's help those guys who were wounded in any war. Let's uplift their spirits, right? It happened then and there. And I must say, I don't take credit for that. I give the credit to that little town in Missouri called Branson, Missouri, whose soil was fertile to patriotism and still is, by the way, and had given so much to veterans that I would say, I'm told, I don't know if this is a right figure, that because of those 25 years I was part of it, and they still continue, we raised about $170 million on behalf of veterans' needs and causes.
Wow.
It's the greatest thing I could ever do in my life.
Unbelievable. And this is a great segue right here, ladies. Listen to this. That man right there, our dear friend Tony Orlando, because of all he does, in Dallas this year, and he's going to be back here in Dallas on Veterans Day on November 11th because he is going to be the parade marshal of the Veterans Day Parade of Dallas.
Fantastic.
And on top of that, last year, I created the Veterans Day Patriot Award, and we gave the first one to Al Burnett, who lost his life to ALS, but used to have an event and a party or a luncheon after the parade for all the people involved. And so we said, let's create something. So the first Patriot Award went to Al. You know who's getting the second Patriot Award? That gentleman right there.
Wow.
So we're talking about people that for...
Humbled.
Yes,
I'm humbled.
Tony, congratulations.
So he gets the Patriot Award. He's going to be our parade marshal. Oh, we're just ecstatic. So he will be right there at the beginning of the parade.
All right. Well, I want to go.
Well, you better be back. You better be back in Dallas, Texas on November 11th.
Come back.
Coming up 2 weeks from Tuesday,
I'm
my
gonna ask
friend.
the two ladies a favor. When you come to this parade, I want to take a picture with me in the middle between the both of you, and I want to start a new group called Tony Orlando and Dusk.
Deal. All right.
Yeah, okay,
Deal.
we'll do it.
I mean,
Absolutely.
similar to yes. I think my aunt might have a heart attack when I tell her today that I am now part of Tony Orlando's
Yeah, exactly.
new band. I mean, yes.
You've got to learn the background parts of Yellow Ribbon, or you're going to be in big trouble.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
I'm
we
gonna go
know
practice.
it. We know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here-
Marjorie really is a singer, by the way.
Tie ribbon around the Yellow Ribbon, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. That's so funny.
Yes, I had no idea that our close-up was really closer and sooner than it was. So thank you, Tony. Yes, we'll be practicing.
We'll
Yeah.
be practicing.
We'll be ready.
Yeah.
Practicing and most proud.
That's
Yes.
right.
Most
yes.
proud.
Thank you,
Definitely,
Tony.
yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we're heading down the home stretch here, Tony. I tell you what, my friend, the one thing I'd like you to do is to share with everybody here your incredible legacy. What would you like your legacy to be? I mean, we talked about MDA and the telethon with Jerry Lewis. We talked about Bob Hope and your over half a century, for Pete's sake, of working with the military. That's unheard of. Just everything that you do, and then of course your iconic career as an entertainer, as a producer, as a publisher, as a singer, a songwriter. I mean, all the things that you did before you did all these other things that we have shared, with our audience tonight. I just wondered, What would you like 100 years from now? Somebody says, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren. Oh my gosh, that's Tony Orlando. How do you want to best be remembered?
Gosh, that's a good question. I just that I'm a good person, that I was a good human being, that I cared about my fellow man. That's it. Period. No more than that.
Well, guess what? You've already done that, my friend. Above and beyond. Above and beyond.
Oh, absolutely.
I tell you what, this is a very special guest we have here today, Marnie, as you well know.
Yes.
Why don't you let you and Marjorie get a final question in for Tony? What would you like to ask him?
Well, I mean, you've had so for people that are interested in, getting involved in the philanthropic endeavors that you do, where would they go? How do they find you? How do they get involved in being, part of the veterans community? Where do they start the search for that?
Well, I retired 2 years ago. So 54 years working on behalf of veterans, 64 years in show business since the first record. So basically, you can find me through Tribute to Valor. You go to Tribute to Valor, you can find me, and you can find that guy there anytime you want. And the one thing I do is try to, in my retirement, to always do something on behalf of veterans. So if there's a veterans show to be done, I always tell them only God can retire me from working for veterans. Only He can call me home, and that's when it's ended. Other than that, I'm 81 years old. I'm retired. I am very happy with what I've done in my past, and I'm looking forward to what I still can do in the future for veterans, for people, and for those people who supported me in my career for all these years.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Incredible, huh?
Yes. And then my final question is, you've turned you've got these moments, you had the moment when you saw Singing in the Rain, and then you followed through. You had the moment when you met John McCain and you followed through. You set goals and you made them happen. A lot of people have goals and just can't cross over into making a dream a reality. What would you say to somebody who is saying, I have some goals and some dreams, but what does it take to actually follow through?
No dreams come true without hard work. I never met a lazy genius.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good point.
That's
good
definitely
point.
a good point.
And that's the truth. It's really hard work.
Mm-hmm.
What the outcome is, no one can tell you.
Right.
But you have to be satisfied, if anybody out there listening, that the hard work is the satisfaction, that giving it all you got is the satisfaction, not necessarily the result of becoming famous or the result of becoming wealthy, but the hard work of going for the dream. There's a great song that Neil Sedaka wrote called The Hungry Years. It's a great song. Listen to it, because what the lyric says is, I miss those hungry years. I made it. I'm a big star now, and I've made it in my business. But I missed those years when I was hungry to make it, when I was trying to make it, when we both were wishing we could make it, when we both were dreaming about making it. The hungry years were the best years.
Wow.
So when you look back retrospectively, it's the journey that's to be enjoyed, not necessarily the actual success.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great advice and way to look at it. Yes.
Outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my friend, I simply say thank you in capital letters from start to finish. Right back at you. I tell you what, you're the best. Dusk, are you ready? Dusk, are you ready?
We're ready. I'm ready. We're ready. Yes.
Dusk is ready. Tony Orlando and Dusk.
Yeah.
All right. No, here we
I'm
go.
ready.
Marnie.
Okay.
Thank you again, my friend. We talk about all the go-getters in this incredible world that we talk to each and every week, but we don't talk to nearly enough go-givers, and you are the captain of the go-givers. So thank you.
And my love to your first lady.
Oh, I'll tell Carol you said hello. She thinks you hung the moon. So thank you much. Our special guest, Tony Orlando. Appreciate it, my friend. So until next time, for this edition of Journey Through Sports, Entertainment, and Life, for Marnie and Marjorie, I'm Scott and Tony Orlando. We say simply be the very best.